Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing a video on my fish. I'm feeding my fish. These fish are 2 months plus, and this is feeding time. We are now feeding these fish 2 times a day because of their age and because of the feed that they're eating. They're now eating 4 mm. They've graduated to 4 mm. So this is my help giving them feed, and you can see that they're eating very well. They're all fighting for the food, which is a good sign for us that they're eating very well. What we need is for the fish to eat well. But what I've noticed is because he just changed the water today, so when I change the water, the fish eat very well. You can see that they are in clean water. That is why they are eating very well, because the water is clean. But once their water is dirty, the fish will not eat at all. They don't like to eat in dirty water. These fish, actually, they dirty their water in a day. If I change water today, the water will be like this clean in the morning. If you come in the afternoon, this water will be brown. The water will already be dirty. And these fish will dirty this water, and they do not want to stay in this dirty water that they dirty by themselves. So when you're keeping fish, one thing that I did not consider very, very well is that they need plenty of water. They need fresh, clean water all the time. You can see in this clean water, immediately we pour their food, they just eat everything. But once the water is dirty, we'll put feed, they'll not even eat. If the water is clean, these fish can eat up to 2.5 bags in one feeding. But when the water is dirty, these fish will struggle to even finish one bag of feed. So when you're trying to start a fish farm, the number one thing that you must consider as well is the water. You need to have a good water system. You need to have enough water to sustain the fish, because at this stage, I'm actually supposed to be changing the water every day. Every day, these fish need clean water. But then my only challenge at the moment is that I haven't got enough water in place to sustain my fish to change my water every single day. So right now I change my water every 2 days. But I'm working on it so that I can change my water every day, and like that my fish will be happier. And when the fish are happier and their environment is good for them, they eat better and they grow quicker and they grow faster. Because as much as I should feed them, I should also give them plenty of clean water so that they can grow and expand well. The clean water helps them to eat better and to grow bigger. And as well, they need enough space. The pond looks a bit crowded because it's feeding time, so they've all come to one place. Though my pond is not, it's big enough for them at this stage, but it's not big enough for them to grow to their final stage in this pond. Because in this pond I have approximately, I should have like 2,000 fish, which is not okay for this particular pond. This particular pond should have like 1,000 to 1,500 to the final stage. So I'm still going to separate my fish. I'm still going to remove like 500 pieces of fish from each pond so that my ponds will be big enough for them. You can see my water is not yet full. My water is not yet full because I'm still adding water to my fish ponds. And you can see that even if the water is not yet full, the fish are still eating, and that is just because the water is clean. If the water is not full and it's dirty, the fish will not eat at all. So you can see that the fish are eating well. My help is now giving them feed. So these fish now are eating EcoFloat, and they're eating 4 mm of it because of their stage. There's actually a way we calculate the feed. You calculate the number of bags that you're going to give at each. You calculate the number of 2 mm, 3 mm, 4 mm that you're going to give, and that is how your fish will be graduating to the next level of feeding. So my fish are 2 months plus, and they're eating well. For me, I think they're good size. As you can see, I'm seeing them a good size and healthy. When they were smaller, I was seeing them a lot of we had a lot of them eating each other. But then at this point, I don't know, they don't eat each other as much as before. They don't eat each other as much as before, and because we're not having many wounded fish. Before, I'll be seeing, when they were like 1 month, I used to see a lot of wounded fish, and because once one fish has a mark of blood, all the other fish will just swallow up that fish immediately. They'll just start eating that fish slowly. So you can see that the pond has enough space, just that they've all come together for their feeding time. And then we try as much as well to pour feed for the other ones that will not come to this feeding point, because you can see that some fish are still swimming back at the pond, meaning that some that dominate have already come to eat, then the other ones will have nothing. So after feeding them, we try to pour a bit of feed on top, not so much that it will contaminate the water, because this feed, if you pour a lot in it, it's blood meal, it will contaminate the water, and the fish will start dying because of too much iron in the water, and it cannot sustain the fish. So this is our feeding time, and our fish are eating quite well. We are happy with that. They are still eating, and that's because they are in clean water. So these fish actually are soon graduating to 6 mm feed. Their 4 mm feed is almost done. We've just got a few more days for them to eat 4 mm. Then we'll graduate to 6 mm. And then finally, it will be time for 9 mm. So the fish are doing well. Actually, on these fish, I haven't given this fish any treatment apart from salt flush that I did on them. Once I did a salt flush on them because I noticed a lot of them were wounded. There were a lot of wounded fish. So the salt flush, just like on us humans, if you're having, let me say, if you did a tooth extraction, like I did a tooth extraction recently, and from the dentist, they gave me antibiotics quite alright, but they told me that I should try to gargle salt, warm salt water on my tooth like 8 times a day. So the same way that it heals us, it has healing effects. Salt does wonders. It has so many things that it can do. So it heals the bacteria inside the water in the pond, and as well it heals any scars, any wounds on the bodies of the fish as well. So I did a salt flush on them, and I haven't given them any medicine apart from the same salt flush I did on them. So I'm very happy with this particular batch of fish. It has been very good for me. It has been easy for me to work with because they haven't had any disease. So he's just pouring in more feed just to make sure that all of them get satisfied. Since they're eating twice a day, we try to make sure that when it's feeding time, they get very satisfied. And because when they get satisfied, at least you find less of them trying to eat other fish that are smaller. So we try to make sure that they're satisfied as they're eating in the morning and in the evening, because they're only eating twice a day.